why you want to do it from here.
Okay, yes. So in dairying with dairy cows, you don't get milk unless the cow has a calf. So to keep the cow in milk, the cow's got to have calves. What happens in commercial dairies is that the cow calves once a year. She's milked for 10 months. She has 2 months off, then she calves again, and then she's milked for another 10 months. And that is the way the dairy industry has worked for a really, really long time. What happens is, so you can get all the milk, so the consumer, in fairness, can get all the milk. What happens is the calf's taken away from the cow at 3 to 5 days. So he'd be on his own by now, and Brenda would be being milked in a big dairy herd. Now, it's a pretty dramatic thing to do, to take a calf that age away from the cow.
What are you doing? How can you get milk still?
Okay, so what I'm trying to do is to compromise and leave the calf with the cow and do share milking. They can still smell each other and see each other, and they don't care which part of the barn or which part of the field they're in. And as soon as you can do that, then you can separate them and you get 12 hours of milk, depending on how long you separate the calf for. You couldn't do that with commercial cows in Britain. The price of milk will increase by a factor of 10. So milk would go from being 50p a litre to £5 a litre overnight. Now that my cow Brenda is in milk, I can start making cheese. But the cheddar I produce takes months to mature. Rose Adams lives in a neighbouring village. She's an award-winning cheesemaker, and she's going to show me how to make a cheese that's ready to eat straight away.
So I recommend you make a soft, ripened lactic cheese.
Right. Has it got a name? Like what? Like a...
Soft, ripened lactic.
Yes, okay. That's what it's called.
Gosh.
So this is today's milk.
Gosh.
That's 8 litres.
Put the milk on. So we don't want it hotter than 21 degrees.
We're adding lactic acid bacteria as a starter, and then we're curdling the milk, making it solid by adding rennet. For this year, I'm allowing myself some chemicals and additives that aren't actually food, mainly to ensure that things like dairy produce are safe to eat.
Yeah, so stir that in. Do the same thing. There you go. And then once we've added the starter and the rennet, we're not going to do anything to that until tomorrow morning.
Rose, what was your secret to making great quality cheese?
You think it's being in charge of the whole process, don't you?
Totally. So it's
Your own-
quality of the milk,
Your own milk.
so you know what's gone into the animal to produce the milk. Exactly what it's been fed.
The thing is how each individual cheese is subtly different from
Yeah.
the last. Everything changes each time
Exactly.
you're making cheese.
It shouldn't be the same.
Yeah, it shouldn't, should it?
No.
They're all really nice,
Yeah.
but they are subtly different.
That is partisan.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm going to get a few of these tomatoes. Now, the last time I made this, he complained that it was too hot. And so I don't want to blow his head off, but it's chili sauce.
Food self-sufficiency means I have to produce everything myself, but it doesn't mean I have to cook everything myself. Enter Ollie, son number 4.
I think that he's going to be much happier once he's got a bit of variety of what he eats. Even if there's a day where he has to eat just meat and 2 veg, if he can put a little bit of something on the side of it that makes it more interesting, then he's going to be much happier. We have quartered onions here. We've got some of Dad's tomatoes, which are really lovely. All of his chilies, which are deceptively hot. And then I'm roasting it with thyme, and I'm going to blend it. And I'm going to let it down with water or vinegar, if I can take some of his lovely vinegar. He hasn't yet got any fat in the way of oil. I'm hoping that it's going to be fine either way. There is chili sauce.
It's going to take out the cheese sandwiches. I know, that's what it's going to do.
I hope so.
It's fab, thank you.
Recipe out.
Next time
on Growing Solo.
First thing in the morning, Buster was stunned and bled out into a great big bucket. It was pretty traumatic.
Growing Solo was presented by Max Cotton and the producer was me, Tessa Brown. This was a Good Egg production for BBC Radio 4.
Before time for the final episode in the series of Mark Steele's in town. This week he's coming from Coleraine, Northern Ireland.
The best thing about Coleraine is
Footmills,
Jazz Coffee.
the river bar,
Game of Thrones.
whiskey. Also, Scots is kind of made up. It's not a language.
James Nesbitt.
Jimmy Nesbitt. James Nesbitt.
James Nesbitt, yeah.
Yeah, we never rated Jimmy Nesbitt, but he's done quite well for himself.
Coleraine is County Londonderry.
I would say it's County Derry. In County Londonderry. It was County Derry.
County Coleraine.
No, we're on the border.
Portrush.
Sure.
Coleraine.
Yeah, it's known as the
Triangle.
The Triangle area.
One of the oldest settlements in all of Ireland.
people of Coleraine would say it is the oldest settlement in Ireland. Yeah.
Mark Steele's in town.
Thank you so much. Welcome to Mark Steele's in town, which this week comes from sunny Coleraine in County Londonderry or Antrim, that's debatable. And it's an honour at last to do this show in the heart of traditional Republican Catholic Ireland. Later we'll sing a medley of songs by the Dubliners and the other blessings of the Pope. There is a little bit of Protestantism here, if you go for it. And it's given the town this wonderful distinction. For example, some Presbyterians, they found there to be a wonderful book. Somewhere they can join us. And this is beautifully reflected in the pedestrianised precinct. What's beautifully empty and silent most days and nights with loads of fun that might upset God. And there was a harbour which must have been lovely, and that's not there anymore, but to preserve the beauty of that spot, there is a gorgeous scrap metal yard now. Opposite Dunn's stores, at certain points of the day, the mangled washing machines reflect off the river with this wonderful glint. It's just beautiful. And the Protestant religion, of course, in Britain was founded on the idea that Christians should reject expensive, spectacular buildings, and nowhere displays that sense of dour grimness better than County Hall. 7 floors of astounding ugliness, just beautifully Protestant. But there's much more to this town, of course, than religion. The rough guide of Ireland said at one point, there's no reason to visit Coleraine. But if you're already there, it is handy for getting to other places. Also, it's a model of how whatever's happened in the past, no one here is bothered about religion anymore. They're just not interested. Instead, whenever you meet anybody new and you're from Coleraine, you ask lovely sweet questions such as, what's your name? Which school did you go to? Which area were you brought up at? And there's no mention of religion at all. If you can't tell even after that, you might go, what do you think of rosary beads? But it's mixed here now. For example, there are Protestant schools, and the Catholics are allowed to go to school as well. It's a completely separate school. It's marvellously integrated. There is a school where Protestant and Catholic kids go together, but I just don't see how that can work. I mean, how can anyone learn about maths if you're sat next to someone with a different view about whether a whiskey wafer represents the body of Jesus? And the old divisions are now so much in the past that every year the Orange Order puts on this beautiful music festival with a marching band, especially for the nationalist area on Somerset Road. And they go right into the estate so that the residents don't even have to leave the road to enjoy the lovely flute music. It's inspiring. The Coleraine tourist website is very proud. It says Coleraine is a big town and ready for city station. Is that true? Are you ready for city station? I mean, I'm much the same. I'm ready for a knighthood. crossing right in the middle, so that the two-carriage train can chuck from here to Portrush, just as they have in New York and Berlin. It's a magnificent level crossing because it's over a junction with 3 roads, so if you're not from here, you have no idea where you're supposed to go or what time, and everyone's beeping you, "What are you running back to?" So much to appreciate here in Coleraine. There's even a website called Places to See in Coleraine on YouTube, where some classical music is true, and some classical music played, and you see in order the statue in the precinct, a church, a country road, a boat by the scrapyard, and Poundland. Thing is, you can come here for a week, but it's not enough to get round it all, is it? Now, the other thing that is wonderfully unusual here in Coleraine is lots of you sort of leave the town that's big and ready to become a city every day to go to the smaller towns like Portrush or Portstewart because they have things to do. Portrush and Portstewart are on the coast and you're a bit inland, so it's known as the triangle between the 3 places. This is a brilliant idea. Next year you should say that you're part of a hexagon with Portrush, Portstewart, Dublin, Paris and Monte Carlo. When you all go. And the other parts of the triangle are all these beautiful stretches of beaches. There are people who swim there all year round, even when it's freezing, including a group called the Menopausal Mermaids. This interests me. You would think that with all of you in there, that might warm the sea up a bit. Or there's Loch Ney, the biggest lake in Britain, where you can sit at the water's edge, lose all track of time as you gaze at a magical expanse of toxic algae. You don't get that in the boring lots in the Republic. Have you all seen the algae? At one point there was an algae app that you could download to find out where the algae had got to at that moment. And there was an algae helpline that you could read. Some of you probably only hate it because it's Greek. Athenian algae were not come under this town. The BBC News website said in 2023 in Loch Ney, multiple factors led to clumps of algae that broke off and travelled along the lower bank to the north coast. The beaches at Portrush and Portstewart were affected. Even the algae pissed off to Portrush and Portstewart. And there's another issue here to do with the river, which is many people believe that the River Bann, is a dividing line in Northern Ireland, and everything east of the River Bann gets all the funding and services. Does the east get treated better? So I think it's exactly what this country needs, is another way of dividing people irrationally. Sister, someone who was quite down in the place, but from here, said to me, "Oh, you might have seen the play about the town on the BBC with the actor James Nesbitt." I thought, "Oh, this is good." They perked up a bit. I said, "What was that about?" And he went, "The murders." Do you like Jimmy Nesbitt? He seems quite active. Someone told me Jimmy Nesbitt often drinks in the Harbour Bar in Portrush, where they do the best Guinness, because he's got a bit above himself. But you go to the Harbour Bar. You know it, I went there last night. It's amazing. There's a little tiny bar as you go in, and then there's about 8 bars altogether, all packed. And James Nesbitt really was there in one of the bars. Is he always in there? It's one of the liveliest bars I've ever seen. So you leave Coleraine, right, let's go out. Let's go to Portrush. And then you get there, go wild all night. And then go, let's go home. I think it's because you reckon that God can't see over the hill. And he won't know what you've been doing. excitement in Coleraine because the Coleraine History website asked, what is Coleraine famous for? And says Coleraine is the site of the first recorded human life in Ireland in 5300 BC. It's now believed that those early people lived in earth shelters either side of the River Bann, with the ones on the west side complaining they didn't get any funding. I should say at this point, most English people don't have a clue that Northern Ireland has areas like this with its glorious cliffs and all your dramatic beaches and pretty little distillery making its whiskey that's smooth because it's distilled 3 times, not like filthy Scottish whiskey that's only distilled twice, so it's full of tadpoles. They think Northern Ireland is just gritty Belfast full of barbed wire and murals of men in balaclavas and blokes outside shipyards being interviewed going, I was working in Holland and worked for 35 years, man, and boys I was, it wasn't like it is now with the Titanic nonsense. We made ships, we didn't have exhibitions about ones that sucked, so we got... You talk so much more smoothly because your accent has been distilled 3 times. The area as a whole is one of outstanding beauty with amazing beaches, stunning views across the sea, and most famously just up the road, the Giant's Causeway, the astonishing series of cliffs and rock formations, and it's an amazing natural phenomenon of giant basalt columns, and nature has created them in such a way that each one has a Chinese tourist on it posing for a photo. The Giant's Causeway book that you buy at the Visitor Centre says, the Causeway is a wonder of the world, the Irish equivalent of the pyramids. And that makes you the Irish equivalent of Cairo, which you are because you're huge and ready to become a city.